Rebecca joined us to pick out some of her favourites. Very good morning to you. What have you found?
Morning. Well, I just think we should firstly just dwell on this George Cross for the NHS. Yes. It's its 73rd birthday, and the Queen has honoured the NHS staff, past, present and future, across the four nations for their incredible work over the last 73 years, but with a particular attention to the astounding effort put in by all our frontline services over the pandemic. And she's written a really heartfelt, handwritten letter to the NHS. And it's just a lovely kind of recognition, isn't it, of how hard these people have worked, and kind of unusual to award an institution, if you like, with a
collective. It's only been the third. It's only been the third time that the St George Cross has been given to an institution or an organisation rather than an individual. Do you know who the other two are?
You do.
Tell us.
They are Malta during the war. In 1942 for managing to hold out against the Nazis, and the RUC in Northern Ireland in 1999. So this is only the third time it's been offered to an institution.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But that's facts on a Monday morning.
I'm going to try and remember that.
That'd be a good pub quiz fact.
Indeed, yeah.
Which we'll all be going to hopefully very soon. But there's been some criticism of it that obviously that it's a lovely gesture, but that this also perhaps we need to provide the NHS with a more substantial pay rise than the 1% pay rise that was allocated to them.
It goes with clapping for carers.
Exactly.
All symbolism, but no practical reality.
This is what the campaign group Keep Our NHS is saying. They're saying this is a wonderful gesture, but if you really do want to thank these people for the incredible effort and work they've put in, a sort of meaningful pay rise wouldn't go amiss. So I'm sure that we'll be hearing more about that. But still, a lovely celebration and award for the NHS.
Yeah, and a beautiful handwritten note by the Queen as well. Quite nice to just see her handwriting.
Yeah.
I think the written note is a bit of a lost art, isn't it? So it's nice to see that she's doing it. Kind of off the back of, obviously, you guys have been talking about Freedom Day and the learn to live with the virus, but there's a few kind of education stories around kind of the repercussions that the last 18 months has had on school kids. Telegraph have got a report from John Neild, who's a sort of former chief examiner, who talks about how employers will now be kind of treating kids who've concluded their education in 2022 with a little bit of a kind of asterisk and maybe a bit more wary of the qualifications that they have. So obviously those children wouldn't have sat GCSEs, and they will have a reduced A-level syllabus, which includes for foreign languages you don't have to know as much vocabulary. Geography field trips won't be happening, and if you do dance or drama, there will be no performances. So it is a sort of slightly weird, it has changed.
Well, I mean, how do you do your geography coursework that's field work if you couldn't go and visit? I mean, that's going to be impossible.
Yeah.
But how much does this really matter to employers? Because I think ultimately, clearly everyone in that year group's going to be in the same boat, and also, I mean, education attainment is only one factor, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When it comes to people getting to...
Yeah, and you're right. And also some people just don't perform in exams regardless of whether there's been a pandemic or not. But he's saying that he thinks that there will be kind of, in comparison to maybe candidates that come from overseas, that, that employers will be able to pick and choose, obviously, between people that they hire. And there is a concern that because of the pared-back syllabus and the disruption to learning, that not only will these kids, not their qualifications won't be seen in the same way, but also that they themselves will be less confident about their ability because, they haven't been able to demonstrate how well they've got to grips with their coursework or their exams because of how disrupted it's been.
The sort of tempering factor to this, though, is that they've all done it together. The entire year group have had this. And it's not that. It's all the other lower years before. We don't know yet, do we, the huge significant impact on children, particularly, those in primary school, 4 and 5, who spent a lot of the time at home with maybe one or two people, their parents, maybe a sibling. The developmental knock-on impact, we just have no idea yet. But the one sort of redeeming factor is at least everyone in their class has gone through the same thing. Their entire generation will, be something that defines them all.
And we've got, given the fact there's a shortage of jobs left, right and centre, whether it's lorry drivers or in hospitality or hotels, at the moment, if you're in that stage of looking for a first job, there's a lot of them out there at the moment.
No, I completely agree. And the Mail have got this, the Centre for Social Justice, which is Ian Duncan Smith's think tank, have also been doing some calculations based on how much schooling they think kids have lost. Because, like you say, we don't know the impact of any of this stuff, and we'll be figuring it out for years to come. But I think, now that we are kind of getting to we're learning to live with the virus rather than following the restrictions, this kind of research will become incredibly important. And they estimate that over 1 billion school days have been lost from children not being able to attend. That's half an academic year for every pupil. And they point out that the £3 billion kind of catch-up fund that the government have put aside equates to just £3 a day for missed schooling, which when you kind of think about how much we need to make up, whether it's socialisation or actual learning, it does feel like a pretty small sum.
But this is why I understand, why are we taking a summer break this summer? I just don't get it. Why are schools not carrying on through the summer? I mean, they missed 3 months at the start of the year. Why are we taking off 6, 7, 8 weeks in July and August?
I think maybe we need a teacher.
We would need a teacher to
come in
and parents who've suddenly got to take all that additional. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we probably do need some quite drastic. You know, we do need to look at how we're going to catch up these kids. But,
but isn't that the weird thing? We're talking this year about how significant this has all been. Everyone recognises it's been pretty significant, has a knock-on effect. These are really unusual times. I can understand why for this one summer, the teaching profession and the unions and the government have not said, you know what, we're not really going to have a proper summer break.
If you're a parent, get in touch, please, or a teacher at GBNews and take Darren to task if you fancy it.
I think.
Thanks, Rosie.
What an invitation, Rosie. And then also, on a completely different note, but very significant, we all know about what's happening to Britain's hedgehogs on Britain's roads.
We don't all know.
You don't all know.
I assume they're not. They're dying.
They're not doing very well.
They're not doing very well. They're not managing to cross the road.
So last year, 335,000 hedgehogs died on Britain's road,
no.
which is a 74% increase since 2016, which is staggering. Yes.
Why?
Because they are losing their hedgerows, and so they're sort of moving around trying to find safe places to live. Also, people aren't putting out kind of cat food or milk or bread or whatever you're supposed to leave out for these hedgehogs, so they're foraging further for food. So it's quite sad.
I think probably the last year would have maybe actually been a good one for hedgehogs.
Yes, seemingly not. But I've got this lovely story about Claudia Bonney, a lady in Bristol who's made homemade signs, and she's put them all over her neighbourhood to remind drivers about the perils.
I thought the signs were the hedgehogs.
Not for the hedgehogs, but to remind drivers that if you do see a hedgehog in the road, you should slow down and let him cross.
You shouldn't need a reminder for that, though, surely.
Well, very clearly.
Honestly, this sounds awful, and hedgehogs are so cute, but I mean, how do they know that 375,000 died on the... I mean, no one's going around counting them, are they? I'm always a little suspicious of these statistics, but does not take away from the fact that, hedgehogs, they're so cute.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there must be some kind of monitoring of, roadkill on our roads, but that is a very grim...
But how wonderful that Claudia has taken to,
lovely Claudia.
saving the Bristol
I don't know why I
population.
jumped to the conclusion that the signs were for the hedgehogs.
I don't know where you've got that. It's quite cute that you think they'd be reading the signs.
I didn't necessarily reading the signs. I thought they were just kind of pointing them in the right direction. Becca, thank you very much indeed.